Hey guys, and welcome to the DBQ video review brought to you by Mr. Millard. Okay, so the first picture we have up in our DBQ is Rosie the Riveter, and she's saying, "We can do it!" And of course, she's flexing those pipes. So what we're going to do first is look at the questions. First question reads, who does the figure in the picture represent? Okay, the next question says, what does the woman mean when she says, "We can do it"? Okay, take about 5 or 10 seconds to answer this. Okay, the next document, document 2, is a picture of ration cards. The most prominent one in the picture is gasoline ration card. And above it, we see coffee, sugar. Okay, question 2A says, what is wartime rationing? Please answer that now. Next question is, name one item rationed during World War II. Okay, the next question is, why was wartime rationing necessary? Take about 5 to 10 seconds to answer that. Okay, next we have document 3. All right, as we turn to document 3, we see several gentlemen near a truck which reads scrap rubber, wanted. Okay, we see the words tires, tubes, gloves, okay, all to win this war. And on the back of the truck it reads, scrap rubber to win this war. Okay, the first question, 3A, says, what are the people in this photograph collecting? Question 3B says, why was this event a common occurrence during World War II? Take 5 or 10 seconds to answer this. Okay, the next document, document 4, says, we'll have lots to eat this winter, won't we, Mother? And the slogan on the bottom says, grow your own, can your own. Okay, question 4A says, what are the mother and daughter in the poster doing? Question 4B reads, why was this activity encouraged during World War II? Take 5 or 10 seconds to answer this one and then move on to document number 5. Okay, document 5 is a picture of 3 young boys, probably about the age of 12 or 13, and they're at a barbed wire fence, and the title of the picture is Internment Camp. Okay, question 5A. What was an internment camp? Okay, question 5B. Why were the Japanese Americans put into this type of camp? And take about 5 or another 10 seconds to answer that. Move on to the last document, document 6. Okay, document 6. The title reads World War II Deaths. And on the left column, we have the country. The next column, we have military deaths. Those are people who died that fought the war. Then we have civilian deaths. Those are people who died during the war that were not soldiers. And then total deaths, all inclusive. Going down the chart, we see the Axis powers. Germany, Italy, Japan, followed by the Allies, France, Great Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union. Okay, question 6A. How many United States military personnel died in World War II? Okay, question 6B. Why are no United States civilian deaths indicated on the chart? Think about where the war was fought. Okay, and the last question. State one effect these death statistics had on American life. Okay, now we're going to look at the DBQ writing portion of this. Okay. Please go down to the task portion. Okay. Okay, so we see the task, which is actually what we have to do in the essay. What are we actually going to write about? And the task reads, using information from the documents and your knowledge of social studies, write an essay in which you discuss 4 ways World War II affected American life at home. In other words, we're going to write about what the United States did at home to support the war effort. Don't forget, in each task bullet, first you're going to make sure that you have enough body paragraphs to cover your task bullet. In this case, we have task bullet, which means we have body paragraph. Very good. Give yourself a round of applause. Okay, and the next thing is always refer back to the task bullets to create your topic sentences. Okay, that's the first sentence in each paragraph. Okay. Now let's go back up and look at the historical context. Okay, it reads, in 1939, the world entered one of its darkest periods when World War II began. In 1942, American troops officially entered the conflict. Although the war was fought overseas, it had a great impact on the American home front. Women experienced permanent changes in their lives, and people across the country felt a greater sense of nationalism as well as a fear of foreigners. World War II had lasting effects on American life. Okay, next we're going to try to actually just write our thesis statement first. This tends to give you guys a very difficult challenge, and we're going to look at it very specifically, and then we're going to write our own. Okay, so when we write the thesis, we include the 3 T's of the thesis statement. First is the time period. Next is the topic. And last is the task question. And since our time period and topic are pretty much the same, we are going to include that as the same thing. So we're going to use World War II, which covers both the time period and the topic. So when you write your thesis statement, you want to make sure that you're discussing World War II. And now to specify specifically what about World War II we're going to write about, we're going to discuss how it affected life at home. And that's answering our task question. You may be asking yourself, Mr. Millard, should we be giving specific things that were affected at home during World War II? Class, the answer is no. Save that for your body paragraphs. You want to be just generic and vague, and then slowly add details as your writing progresses. So right now, what we'd like you to do, pick up your pen, write a thesis statement for this DBQ. We will be around to help you. Raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, now that we have written our thesis statement, we're going to go back and begin rewriting our introduction. And I say rewriting because we're taking the content out of the historical context, and we're going to change the wording of the sentences, maybe the order of the ideas in the sentences, and try to make it a little bit more original, or what many people in English would call paraphrasing. So before we actually give you an example of what one would look like, let's take a look at historical context. It starts off by saying that in 1939, the world entered one of its darkest periods when World War II began. Please raise your hand if you could tell us another way this could be said. Okay, the historical context goes on to say that in 1942, American troops officially entered the conflict. Although the war was fought overseas, it had a great impact on the American home front. If you think you can condense these two ideas or reword this, please raise your hand and give us your example. Okay, moving right along. Women experienced permanent changes in their lives, and people across the country felt a greater sense of nationalism as well as fear of foreigners. World War II had lasting effects on American life. If any of those sentences you feel you could reword, paraphrase, please raise your hand now and give the rest of us a little bit of help. Okay, at this point, we have given you enough information that you should be able to write an introduction on your own. We will walk throughout the classroom, and if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Okay, in wrapping up what we have discussed today, let's take a look at a very generic example of what your introduction could look like. Okay. First, we see historical context restated and then a nice yellow arrow pointing to that part. And then on the bottom, always end your intro with your thesis statement. And in this case, we highlighted it in yellow, and we have a little green arrow pointing to it, which says thesis. So taking the ideas from the historical context, we had wrote, World War II marked one of the most horrific time periods in history. American troops officially entered the war in 1942. Although it was fought overseas, World War II had a great impact on the American home front. During World War II, American life at home was affected in many ways. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you for participating in today's DBQ writing exercise. I've been your host, Mr. Millard. Have a great day.